The pain behind the smile you learned to wear. People think being nice is a personality trait. It's not. For many, it's survival. A smile used as armor. Agreement used as protection. Politeness used as camouflage. He remembered someone who apologized even when he was the one hurt, who thanked people who drained him, who stayed silent when his chest screamed, who smiled to avoid shattering. People mistook it for kindness. It was fear. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of disappointing anyone, fear that saying no would make the world collapse. Being too nice isn't generosity, it's self-erasure. Because conflict doesn't destroy you. Silence does. Swallowing opinions does. Denying emotions does. Carrying the weight of everyone else's comfort does. If someone came to mind, your past self, your present self, or someone who always chooses peace instead of dignity, your body remembers the cost even if your mind forgot.
Number 10. You apologize for existing. People pleasers don't apologize because they're wrong. They apologize because they exist in fear. He noticed the pattern. Sorry when someone bumped into him. Sorry when he needed help. Sorry when he felt hurt. Sorry when he had nothing to be sorry for. Apologies become a shield, a way to prevent anger, frustration, or disappointment before it even appears. This is preemptive submission, reducing your presence so others don't reduce it first. Human trigger. Excessive apology is not politeness, it's self-protection. Emotion shift. Recognition to unease. You weren't overly polite. You were terrified of becoming a burden.
Number 9. You say yes to avoid losing people, not to help them. Yes becomes currency, not generosity. He recalled saying yes to favors he couldn't do, tasks he didn't want, people who didn't value him, not because he wanted to help, but because he feared the consequences of saying no. People pleasers aren't kind. They're afraid. Yes feels like safety. No feels like danger. But every yes given out of fear becomes a silent betrayal of the self. Human trigger. When your yes costs you peace, it was never a real yes. Emotion shift. Unease to doubt. You didn't agree, you avoided abandonment.
Number 8. You avoid conflict even when you are the one being hurt. Conflict feels fatal to someone conditioned to maintain harmony at all costs. He remembered choosing silence over honesty, endurance over boundaries, peace over truth. Not because he lacked courage, but because confrontation triggered a deeper terror. What if the anger turns on me? What if I lose them? What if I look unreasonable? What if I become the problem? This is conflict trauma, where disagreement feels like danger. Human trigger. Avoiding conflict is not peacekeeping, it's fear management. Emotion shift. Doubt to suspicion. You didn't choose peace, you chose survival.
Number 7. You carry emotional labor that no one notices. People pleasers don't just avoid conflict, they absorb it. He remembered being the mediator, the peacemaker, the emotional sponge, holding tension, soothing anger, balancing moods, predicting reactions, avoiding triggers, protecting egos. Not because anyone asked, but because he feared the explosion that might come if he didn't. This is emotional overfunctioning, where you regulate the entire room to avoid the storm. Human trigger.
People pleasers aren't calm. They're constantly bracing. Emotion shift. Suspicion to alarm. You weren't strong. You were exhausted.
Number 6. You hide your true feelings to keep the peace. He remembered smiling through disappointment, hiding anger, masking sadness, minimizing pain. People pleasers don't express feelings. They edit them. They swap truth for acceptability, vulnerability for safety, authenticity for predictability. This is emotional suppression under threat, a coping mechanism carved from childhood dynamics. Human trigger. When you hide your emotions long enough, you forget what they actually feel like. Emotion shift. Alarm. Disbelief. You didn't stay calm. You stayed silent.
Number 5. You accept mistreatment because you fear confrontation more than pain. He once stayed in relationships, friendships, jobs that drained him, not because they were good, but because leaving required conflict. People pleasers endure what others would reject simply because rejection feels safer than rebellion. Pain feels familiar. Confrontation feels lethal. Human trigger. People pleasers aren't tolerant. They're afraid of the cost of resistance. Emotion shift. Disbelief to tension. You didn't stay because it was acceptable. You stayed because the alternative terrified you. Number 4. You lose your identity one compromise at a time. Being too nice isn't an act of kindness, it's an erosion. He remembered shifting preferences, changing decisions, adapting habits, softening opinions to match others. Every compromise felt tiny. Every adjustment felt harmless. But identity dies, not by destruction, but by dilution. People pleasers dissolve gradually into the expectations of everyone else. Human trigger. Self-abandonment never happens suddenly. It happens quietly. Emotion shift. Tension. To chill. You didn't lose yourself. You offered pieces of yourself to keep the peace. Number 3. You feel responsible for how others feel. People pleasers don't manage only themselves. They manage everyone's emotions. He remembered analyzing faces, tones, pauses, micro-expressions to ensure no one felt upset. If someone was unhappy, he felt guilty. If someone was irritated, he felt responsible. If someone was distant, he felt at fault. This is emotional hyper-responsibility, a belief that your value is measured by your usefulness. Human trigger? When others' moods become your duty, your life stops being yours. Emotion shift, chill to collapse. You weren't caring, you were compensating.
Number 2. You fear rejection more than you value respect. He stayed too long in conversations, expectations, relationships that didn't deserve him, because rejection felt like death, and respect felt optional. People pleasers choose belonging over boundaries, approval over authenticity, acceptance over self-worth. Rejection fear is the engine that keeps people-pleasing alive. Human trigger. Fear of rejection turns being nice into self-sacrifice. Emotion shift. Collapse to awareness. You didn't value them too much. You valued yourself too little. Number 1. You become invisible to yourself. The final cost of being too nice isn't exhaustion. It's disappearance. He realized one day that he no longer knew what he felt, what he preferred, what he believed, what he wanted. Identity was replaced by obligation. Desires replaced by compliance. Feelings replaced by neutrality. This is the ultimate collapse, when you stop disappointing others by disappointing yourself. Human trigger. People-pleasing is self-erasure performed politely. Emotion shift. Awareness into quiet shock. You didn't lose your identity. You traded it for safety.
The moment you finally choose yourself. If someone's face surfaced, if a memory tightened your breath, if an old version of you suddenly felt painfully close, you weren't imagining it, you were recognizing it. Being too nice was never the compliment you thought it was. It was the survival strategy you built when your voice was ignored, your boundaries punished, your anger shamed, your needs unwelcome. But you were allowed to choose yourself now, to say no without guilt, to speak without trembling, to protect your peace without apology, to walk away without fear, to disappoint others without abandoning yourself. If your chest feels heavy, if something inside you feels like it's shifting, that's not fear. That's emergence. You spent years being who others needed. Now it's time to be who you needed. Share this video for the person who still mistakes self-sacrifice for kindness.